So I was looking at this research on black attitudes of black men, and one of the things is like the white people, the dominant group. One of the ways we justify being the dominant group is by ascribing negative characteristics to people who are below us. So one of the ways that I can justify being on top, if I'm on top, like let's imagine I'm on top, right? Is to imagine that, well, the people on the bottom somehow deserve to be there. And then somehow I deserve to be here. Because I don't know how else to make sense of that, right? Like the divine sort of nature of being a king. And, you know, God ordained this, and God wanted this, and God that. So you come up with these stories. And one story that historically speaking, white people have come up with regarding black and brown people, in particular Latinos, in particular Mexicans and Central Americans and black Americans, black people, is that people, A, didn't want to work hard, or B, didn't take responsibility for their actions. They're always blaming somebody else. It's always somebody else's problem, and like, oh my God, and it's like, okay, always somebody else. So putting blame elsewhere. So really interesting research that jumped out to me. The one group, there are two groups in the United States who are less likely to blame other people for their problems than any other groups. If they screw up, or when they screw up, it is their fault. Black men, and then Middle Eastern men and women. But black men, number one. So the story we have is that, like, oh man, you know, black people, they're always blaming. Because what happens is, again, remember, down here, you're identifying the obstacles. Right? What are the obstacles, right? Oh, the obstacle of like, well, look, you got to look at discrimination, you got to look at this, and you got to look at that, because if you're experiencing it, right, it's like you're going to be picking that stuff out. So the fact that black and brown people, in particular, blacks and Latinos, are very often picking out the obstacles, then white people say like, oh my God, you're always just talking about that. But the fact is, no. Black and brown people are also talking about lots of other things, but it just so happens that they're also talking about this because the dominant group, in this case white people, are so unwilling to really look at it, except liberal white people, right? So you see, this is a problem. No, hang on. Can every black man in the room stand up real fast? Every black man. Look around the room. Here's the thing. The story we have is that black people, that black men are unwilling to take responsibility for their actions and for their screw-ups. When they screw up, they're always pointing around at somebody else. But look, y'all, right? Black men are the first people to say, yeah, it's my fault, man. Divine. How much time were you in prison? How long?
4 straight, 2 and off and on.
Wait. No,
I did 4 straight.
4 straight?
In prison, and I did 2 off and on in juvie.
In juvie, and whose fault was it, man?
It was mine.
Yeah. Dude, you ask black men, it's their fault. Once in a while, you're going to get a black... Especially, look, if you're white, you might play somebody and be like, oh yeah, no, it's the white system and so on. But listen, man. White people... The group of people most likely to blame other people for their problems, the group most likely to blame other people, wealthier white men. So isn't this really amazing that we create this system whereby, like, wow, the whole world can like point at all these men and be like, oh yeah, well you're on the bottom, or you're not making it, or you're experiencing it, or you went to prison, whatever. Yes, because it's like, you know, but you're blaming everybody else. So like, I don't have anything to do with this stuff, right? It's not my fault. It's not my problem. It's not about me. But in fact, the reality is, look around, man. Dude, it's people looking more like me that are finding reasons why things happen to me. Something happened to me. So, I don't know, man. This is just a really powerful image. I just want you all to remember that. Remember this right here. And when you hear you know, you're watching the television or you're watching a talk show and you hear some black men talking about the system and the racist system and so on. That doesn't mean they're also not taking responsibility for stuff that happened to them, because there is a racist system out there. But it also means we're looking at something else. Dudes, thanks for standing. Yeah.